All right, Whoopi. Today we're going to be talking about the Civil War, the internment camps that happened after World War II of the Japanese people, or during World War II, I should say. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to be talking about Jim Crow laws. So what do you have to say about those?
Yeah, I'm really excited to get out there. What I just want to say is the truth is that really we talk about this as if race had anything to do with it, and race had nothing to do with any of this. It was just really all about a lack of humanity. So that's the stance that I'm going to take, and I'm going to take it publicly. And
Whoopi, are you sure that's such a good idea? I mean, all those things pretty clearly had something to do with race.
No, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it live on air, and then I'm going to get a bunch of backlash for it, maybe, and then I'm going to put out an apology. And then after that apology, I'm going to arrange to go on Stephen Colbert's show and sort of apologize, but also stand by exactly what I said on the show. So that's my plan. Sound good?
Sounds great. Great luck with that.
And guys, welcome to Will and Amala Live. I took a moment to step into the life of Whoopi Goldberg, and I must say, I don't ever want to be Whoopi Goldberg ever again. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. Today's been quite a busy day for us, but we've got a lot of controversy to talk about. Now, we didn't talk about the whole Whoopi Goldberg situation yesterday because it was playing out. We wanted to see what was going to happen. There was a lot of heat on virtually every single social media platform over what Whoopi Goldberg said on The View. Now, if you guys have been, I don't know, living under a rock, or you're mentally stable and haven't been going on social media and you lead a healthy lifestyle, unlike myself and Taylor, you probably didn't see this video. But let's take a look at what Whoopi had to say.
Truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
No, it's about
a different race. But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy. It's about
it's not about
ideal race.
But these are two white groups of people.
Well, how do we have to black people
see them as white?
But you're missing the point. You're missing the point. The minute you turn it into race, it goes down this alley. Let's talk about it for what it is. It's how people treat each other. It's a problem. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, because black, white, Jews, everybody eats each other. So if you're uncomfortable, if you hear about mouse, should you be worried? Should your child say, oh my God?
Okay, let's pause there. You know what? This really took me on a roller coaster that I was begging the operator to take me off of. Yet I still remain on it. There was so many things said here. First of all, she leads with, now let's be truthful. I mean, that's a really confident thing to say before you say some whack stuff like this. Let's be truthful, she says. And she says the Holocaust was not about race. I'm just confused. I'm like, am I improperly educated on the proceedings of the Holocaust? Because if I remember correctly, a Mr. Adolf Hitler wrote really in depth about the strength and superiority of the Aryan race, and that was his view and a large driving factor behind the Holocaust happening. So to hear that it's not about race, it sort of just baffles me. But then she goes on to make a point that would seemingly be a conservative point, and she says, well, these things aren't about race, but that they are about a lack of humanity, which is an argument that we make a lot of times when it comes to the argument towards of leftists saying that America's racist and that black people are oppressed in America, and say, you know, just because there's a few people who sort of lack humanity doesn't mean that the whole situation is racist. So this sort of took me all over the place. And I heard her say, you know, the Holocaust was not about race. And immediately one of the co-hosts goes, are you sure? Are you sure about that? I think all four of them were just like, I don't know what to say in this situation, because maybe they could feel her stepping into the hot water on this particular situation.
Yeah, it was kind of like, the longer she went on, you could just feel the tension kind of rising of like, oof. But yeah, she made a whoopsie. What can we say?
Whoopi made a whoopsie. She tends to do that a lot. She puts her foot in her mouth on this show quite often with making arguments that are just completely unfounded, not based in fact whatsoever. And something else that I noticed here, and I talked about this today on OAN, I did a segment about this. her view of race is clearly just so simple. The only thing that says race to Whoopi Goldberg is the color of your skin. And we're going to find out more about that later because she explains exactly why she made this statement. But yeah, it's clearly a misunderstanding. But a misunderstanding that she spoke very, very confidently about on the show. So, of course, this sparked a lot of controversy. People on the left and the right were coming after her saying, no, girl, you're wrong on this one. People who said, Whoopi, I usually like you, girl. But what you just said, that's wrong. So she felt the heat and she released this on Twitter and said, on today's show, I said the Holocaust, quote, is not about race, but about man's inhumanity to man, end quote. I should have said it is about both. Yep. As Jonathan Greenblatt from the Anti-Defamation League shared, quote, the Holocaust was about the Nazis' systemic annihilation of the Jewish people, who they deemed to be an inferior race, end quote. I stand corrected. She goes on to say, the Jewish people around the world have always had my support, and that will never waver. I'm sorry for the hurt I have caused. Written with my sincerest apologies, Whoopi Goldberg. Now, this is an all right apology. What do you rate this out of 10, Taylor?
I mean, I don't know, maybe a 6.5. It seems sincere enough.
Sure. I give it a strong 8 even.
Okay.
She mentioned that she was sorry. She corrected what she had said. She took criticism from people who are, members of the Anti-Defamation League, and came forward and said my sincerest apologies. But the story doesn't end there, ladies, because ladies and gentlemen, because we're on a roller coaster, and roller coasters don't always go up. Sometimes they go back down. And Whoopi decided, or at least maybe the network decided, I think they maybe frantically went at this and said, oh no, we don't want her to get canceled. What can we do? What can we do? We need to address this as soon as possible. That very same night, Whoopi got on the Stephen Colbert show to address what she had said. And here's this clip.
Have you come to understand that the Nazis saw it as race? Well, because they might, asking the Nazis, they would say, yes, it's a racial issue.
Well, see, this is what's interesting to me, because the Nazis lied. It wasn't. They had issues with ethnicity, not with race, because most of the Nazis were white people, and most of the people they were attacking were white people. So to me, I'm thinking, how can you say it's about race if you are fighting each other? So it all really began because I said, how will we explain to children what happened in Nazi Germany? I said, this wasn't racial. This was about white on white. And everybody said, no, it was racial. And so that's what this all came from. So once again, don't write me anymore. I know how you feel. Okay, I already know. I get it. And I'm going to take your word for it and never bring it up again.
We have to take a quick break, but stick around. We'll be right back with more.
Notice how she didn't get pressed too hard on that response. There could have been a real hard press on what she just said, but no, she gets the pass. She gets the pass for that. I will take your word for it. Does that sound very genuine at all? Does that really sound like she has taken in the criticism and gone, okay, yeah, I was wrong on that statement? Not to me, it doesn't.
No, after watching that, it's like, were you the one that wrote your apology? Probably not. It was probably a PR firm that tweeted from your account something that was a good apology. But if you hear her speak again about her very words, she basically doubled down on her original position.
Yes. She basically just said, I heard you guys. Shut up. Stop talking to me about it. I understand your viewpoint, but I have my viewpoint and it's not changing, which is fine. If that's the case and you've heard all the criticism from everybody telling you that this is about race and your views have not changed, you still say it's not, totally fine. Nobody can make you change the way you think about something if you don't want to, but be honest about it and don't put out a fake apology on Twitter to get your audience back and make sure you stay on The View and then completely go back downhill by going on Stephen Colbert.
Right, exactly. I mean, and of course she gets the softball from Stephen Colbert. It was completely evident in that moment that she's not withdrawing her original comments.
Right.
And he should have taken her to task over that, but of course he's not going to.
Yeah, I think it went, she said that on the show, they got off stage and went, yikes, you got to do something about that. An apology was put out by some assistant who gets her coffee probably, and then they called Stephen Colbert because he's a friend, and they wanted to clean this up. And it most likely will be cleaned up. It will just never be talked about again. But what are your thoughts on the Whoopi Goldberg situation? And maybe we'll put out a poll on this. Do you accept Whoopi Goldberg's apology? Yes or no? Do you simply not even care? And should we just let Whoopi get a pass, or should she be taken to task for the things that she said? Now, one more debate that has been sparked from this Whoopi controversy is the debate about Roseanne Barr. For those of you who don't know Roseanne Barr, she's a very famous comedian. She had a show called Roseanne that she was the star of. I remember watching her in my childhood, but I saw that her name was trending with Whoopi Goldberg's name, and I thought, okay, what's going on here? And where Whoopi Goldberg had made this comment and was able to put out a fake apology and then go on Stephen Colbert to attempt to clean it up and double down on her words, Roseanne Barr, who had made quite a similar faux pas, but a little different, if you guys don't remember, Roseanne Barr had gotten on Twitter and she attacked somebody who happened to be a black woman and wrote a tweet, and this is not the nicest tweet ever, sort of comparing her and saying, if the Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes had a baby, it would equal this woman. So the internet went crazy on Roseanne Barr, and immediately she was canceled. A show that was supposed to be rebooted and put back on the air was taken off the air. She was fired, and now she just leads a normal life and no longer does anything in entertainment due to this one tweet that she put out criticizing this woman and bullying her. So is this comparable? Should these situations be treated differently? I'm seeing a lot of people saying, well, if Roseanne Barr was fired, we should fire Whoopi. And I don't tend to fall on that side of the aisle. I think both of them should be given leniency when it comes to these things. You make mistakes, you say things that are not well received. People do it all the time. And what we do is grow and progress from those things. It shouldn't eliminate your livelihood and what you do for work because you've said something stupid.
Yeah, and that's what's tragic about this whole situation is that on neither side was justice served, where either person allowed to grow. One person was canceled, and the other person, it was completely glossed over by the media. And so it's like a double standard on both sides of it. And what should have happened should be both of them should be taken to task for their comments, should be demanded to apologize, and then they should learn, and then we should move on with our lives and not make such a big deal about things. But instead, you get if you have the correct left-leaning view of race and everything, then it's like, okay, well we'll sweep this anti-Semitism under the rug. And if it's someone who errs on the opposite side of the aisle, then it's like, oh well, that was the worst possible thing. I saw in the comments someone said, what if Candace Owens said the same thing that Whoopi said? What do you think that would have been like?
Oh, would not go over well whatsoever. Luckily, she wouldn't be canceled by Daily Wire or anything like that, but they would be a vastly different response from the internet community at large. And I don't even know, what do we think about making people apologize for things? I don't even know that I would say that they both need to apologize or put out an apology. If that is what you think and what you believe, I don't want a forced apology from you. I kind of want you to just say, okay, criticism is noted, and there we go. If you truly believe what you said, you don't want to apologize, then don't apologize. But yeah, I would love to see some consistency when it comes to cancel culture. If you're going to go and cancel people and get them fired from their jobs and taken out of their careers, maybe be consistent with that and don't use it to just denounce people who go against your own agenda. Because I think Whoopi Goldberg services the woke left so much that she'll be fine. She'll go off scot-free like this, and she'll continue to say ridiculous things on The View. We react to The View all the time, and Whoopi Goldberg is the star when it comes to ignorance. So,
yeah, it's true. And then the sad thing is, like, if you genuinely cared and were outraged by anti-Semitism or the suggestions made by her original comments, then you would hold her accountable. But because we're sweeping it under the rug, it just shows that you genuinely do not care.
Exactly. So she got one day to have to deal with this and a fake apology, and now we're moving on. And guess what? the show is moving on as well. Here is our next story. We are back to the Joe Rogan controversy. People want to keep talking about it, even though my man is staying on Spotify. His episodes are going to continue to go up. Are they going to have disclaimers now? Maybe. Don't know how I particularly feel about that. My instinct is telling me I'm not happy about it, but to each their own. If Joe Rogan wants to put disclaimers on his episodes, even though I feel they're not necessary, that is his prerogative. That is Spotify's prerogative. But Brian Stelter, you know him, you dislike him, from CNN, decided to show Joe Rogan's explanation video and his response to all this Spotify debacle on his show. And this was his response to Joe Rogan.
Narrative is, I want to show all kinds of opinions.
Which sounds great, but not all opinions are created equal. You think about major newsrooms like CNN that have health departments and desks and operations that work hard on verifying information on COVID-19. And then you have talk show stars like Joe Rogan who just wing it, who make it up as they go along. And because figures like Rogan are trusted by people that don't trust real newsrooms, we have a problem that's much bigger than Spotify, much bigger than any single platform, Kate. But that's what is the heart of this right now.
Dude.
Yeah, but you're right.
You're right. You're right. Does a single person watching this show right now trust Brian Stelter? And if you do, I don't know what to tell you. There are so many incorrect things said here. I want to go back to his initial comment. Let's hear it again, just so we can hear the complete and utter lunacy. Here we go.
Opinions.
Which sounds great, but not all opinions are created equal.
Not all opinions are created equal. And he goes on with complete lack of nuance to blame Joe Rogan for the things that are said on his show, even though Joe Rogan is simply a vessel. He's simply the avenue through which people come on the show and speak about the things that they know, the things that they learned, and their opinions. So why is any blame being placed on Joe Rogan for this controversy? Even though he's just the facilitator. He's not coming out and making a statement and saying this is tried and true fact. Also, I am a news outlet and you should trust everything that I'm saying. Joe Rogan is pretty open about the fact that he is just a man who is curious about the world, who is curious about politics and the economy and lifestyle and health. And he's bringing on people, again, who are experts in the field to discuss these things with him and not only educate him, but educate others and give them a differing perspective.
Yeah, and he said not all opinions are created equal, but the opinions that he's bringing onto his Joe Rogan is bringing onto his show are like the most cited cardiologist of all time,
yes,
and the co-inventor of mRNA technology that was behind the vaccines that we have. So, and by the way, it's not like that's all Joe Rogan talks about. He's just a guy who has a show and brings experts and interesting people on from all stripes to talk about all manner of things, and he never claims to be the type of institution, or he never claims to be a journalist, and he never claims to be the type of institution that CNN is, or that they claim to be, which, by the way, they don't live up to their billing as an outlet of journalism with integrity. And all this boils down to is that Brian Stelter / CNN is butthurt because way more people trust Joe Rogan than them, because they have destroyed their credibility over a long time, but especially the last, 5 years.
Yeah, what? They have like 1/5 of the views that Joe Rogan gets on a typical episode?
No, not even. It's like, I think they get less than 1 million, 700,000 to a million, and he gets like 11 million.
See, and so I can hear the pain in Brian Stelter's voice that people would like to prefer to watch another bald guy than him. And I think that's exactly what it is here. And to talk about trust and people trusting Joe Rogan, of course people trust Joe Rogan more than they trust your media outlet. It's simply ridiculous. And what they should have showed in that Joe Rogan video is when Joe Rogan said, you know what, sometimes on my show I get things wrong. And I admit that I get things wrong, but I try my best to be truthful and to find people of differing perspectives so that we can get to what is objective, so we can get to what is true. Can Brian Stelter get on his show and say the same? Absolutely not. And Brian Stelter certainly does not apologize when he says something wrong. There's no accountability. There's no redaction. So there's no world to me that people support CNN more than they support Joe Rogan, somebody who's actually bringing in differing perspectives. And Joe Rogan even brought CNN's health contributor, Sanjay Gupta, their doctor, onto his show for a full interview where we watched Sanjay tap dance around the real answers to the questions to not show his political bias. So where is the controversy?
Such a good point. Your own doctor from your network was on Joe Rogan, and you're sitting here complaining about how he doesn't have credible people on.
Right.
And look, Joe Rogan's method for quote like verifying his information and fact checking is he makes statements, or he has people on to bring statements, and then they're out in the world and they get scrutinized, they get analyzed. CNN and the CDC and all these like institutional elite class, their method is just trust us. We're the experts. We know we silenced all the other experts that disagree with us and don't correspond to our narrative, but we're the experts that you should listen to. And, we're not going to take any specific claims that are made on the podcast and show you the evidence that refutes them. We're just going to complain about how, he's not a journalist. He's not approved. He doesn't have the elite branding that we all have. And so you shouldn't be listening to him. It's like, and people can sniff through that. And that's why he has 10 times more viewership than you. Yeah,
it's so easy to see through. And if you won't have any questions about whether or not CNN is reputable, go just watch any single document or video that Project Veritas has on them, and you will know exactly what CNN does behind closed doors, influencing your elections, telling you about your health with unfounded information, putting out death tolls and begging for the death tolls to be higher so that they can convince you of their narrative and make you fearful of coming out of your house. That is what CNN does. That is what they are. That is all that they are trying to do. So to hear a network like that, especially Brian Stelter, come and lecture about trust is just unbelievable. Now, here's a story of a newspaper that I would like to praise. It's a newspaper that's not in the U.S., funny enough, but we could use some inspiration from this story here in the U.S. Brian Stelter could use this information and would hopefully be inspired by this, although I doubt it. This is from fee.org. Here is the headline. Newspaper apologizes for its COVID coverage. I want to say this right. Extra Blade? I don't know how to say the name. It's one of Denmark's largest newspapers. And they've now come out and apologized for the coverage that they've done of COVID-19 over these past 2 years. Here's the quote. For almost 2 years, we, the press and the population, have been almost hypnotically preoccupied with the authorities and the daily coronado. So everything related to COVID. The constant mental alertness has worn out tremendously on us all. That is why we, the press, must also take stock of our own efforts, and we have failed. How crazy is it to hear that? Because you would never hear that from press virtually on either side of the aisle here in America. It is so biased, and they never take accountability for the times that they lie. I'm going to continue to read. We have not been vigilant enough at the Garden Gate when the authorities were required to answer what it actually meant that people are hospitalized with corona and not because of corona, because it makes a difference, a big difference. Exactly, the official hospitalization numbers have been shown to be 27% higher than the actual figures for how many there are in the hospital, simply because they have corona. We only know that now. Of course, it is first and foremost the authorities who are responsible for informing the population correctly, accurately, and honestly. The figures for how many are sick and died of coronavirus should, for obvious reasons, have been published long ago. This has a lot of weight to it. This is a really big admission by this newspaper, and I think they're right. The onus lies first on the authorities who are disseminating this information to people and giving it to newspapers and media outlets, and it's very clear here that they have been lying. There's a big difference between being in the hospital because of coronavirus and being in the hospital with coronavirus. And who has been making this point for 2 years? We have. Yeah. And this is great. I will proudly look at this and say, good job for taking accountability for your actions, for actually making a dedicated article to talk about times where you have failed and you have lacked journalistic integrity. Imagine if every single outlet did that, was honest, and said, you know what? We had false information here, and we gave you that false information, and that false information had greater implications in your lives, the lives of your loved ones, your friends, your kids, And that's our fault. The media has a lot of blame to take when it comes to this because they're the ones that are supposed to keep you informed. And they're the ones that have instigated this fear that has made everybody hysterical during this time.
Right. Their job, they said the first and foremost, it's the job of the authorities, the government, to get their information right. But it's our job as the media to hold them accountable and investigate the claims that they make, investigate the data that they give us, and make sure that what the information that they're giving us is factual, because they're using that information to justify locking us down, imposing all these mandates, doing all kinds of things that restrict our liberties. And before you take any of my liberty, you have to show that this is completely necessary. And the media, rather than doing their job and investigating the facts, they just become the enforcer and the echo chamber for whatever the government decides is the thing. And that is totalitarianism. That is information control. That's like 1984 having a Ministry of Truth. It's like Soviet Russia having owning all the media and the newspapers, Pravda or whatever, and like you just echo. It's propaganda. And they are basically admitting we've been propaganda for the government on behalf of the government rather than being journalists. And we're turning around. I wish that would happen in our country.
I know. It's just so crazy to see somebody do it right. Somebody do it right like this. Again, the largest newspaper in Denmark. We should see the same over here. But instead, people are attacking Joe Rogan and the doctors that he brings on for COVID information. And a lot of COVID information that is completely accurate, because they've studied it. I mean, Peter McCullough was asked and put on a task force for COVID when it first got announced to work on preventative measures for the illness. And it's just so wild to see people who can look up these credentials and hear the words straight from the horse's mouth and then go, well, I don't trust you. Joe Rogan's not a doctor.
Speaking of trustworthy sources, I have a quick super chat here from Robert. It says, shows like yours give people like us living in some of the worst cities in America hope that tomorrow will be better. Love the show and dialogue.
Oh, I'm so glad we could do that for you. We are in Los Angeles, one of the worst cities in America. So we are sharing that struggle with you. You do not struggle alone.
We're in a state of emergency here, guys. It's such an emergency that our officials wear their masks through the entire Super Bowl game. NFC Championship game. Just kidding, they don't.
Just kidding, they don't. The powers that be.
But it's an emergency.
Yes, it's an emergency, but not for me. Rules for thee, but not for me when it comes to our higher-ups here in Los Angeles and in California, which I'm sure you've seen that story, but we won't go into because we can't talk about the man himself. But that's all right, because you all know what I'm talking about. And you know what I'm saying.
One other comment here from Asher says, it's not as fun when Will or Amala is gone, either one of them, which is true.
We know it.
But where's Will today? We should state it for the record.
Will's in Germany today. He's hanging out. I don't know exactly what Will's doing because Will has not sent us any videos of what he's doing.
Will, if you're out there, send us a video.
Will, if you're out there.
Holding up a newspaper to make sure that you're still alive.
Yeah, if you haven't been captured by the German female police force, please send us a video and let us know that you are alive and well. And he's gallivanting around Europe somewhere, but he will be back soon, and we'll get a video update from him this week. Yes, we will. Now, guys, we're gonna get into our next story, but I want you guys to know that we are on a new channel today, Will and Amala Live channel on YouTube. Go search it up. Go subscribe. Eventually, we're going to be exclusively streaming over there. We're also cutting our show into clips and posting it for you because a lot of you said, man, I cannot sit for an hour and listen to you talk. Totally get it. I can't sit for an hour and listen to myself talk. So you guys go to Will and Amala Live, subscribe there. You already got us to 8K subscribers, and it's nearly been 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks yet. So please go and boost it up. Go subscribe and leave a comment on our streams as well. Now let's get into the last bit of COVID news here. This is from the Epic Times. Hershey's is firing unvaccinated employees. So this has just begun. The story broke today that Hershey's Co. has been firing office workers who have declined to be vaccinated against COVID-19. And this is unfortunate because we saw the OSHA mandate go out saying that if you are a company that has 100 employees or more, you have to get them vaccinated. And if they are not, that you can fire them. And we saw that go to the Supreme Court. And we saw the Supreme Court say this is unconstitutional. We got that famous phrasing from Sotomayor saying that there was 100,000 kids in the hospital on ventilators and all that stuff, all that BS. So we went through all that turmoil, all that discussion for really something that should not be a conversation. It should not be a conversation as to whether or not we can mandate medical treatments for people. Should not be a discussion. But we went through it. And we got out on the other end of all the stupidity, and they said, you know what? It's not constitutional. And now Hershey's, which I guess is their prerogative to do so, is firing unvaccinated employees. And it's ridiculous. I thought Hershey's was a sweet company. Not so sweet after all.
That was a good one.
Thank you. I guess you can't.
Wait. Which one is the... Oh.
There we go. The good old laugh track for that one. So yeah, it's just, it's upsetting to see companies who continue to go forward with this, and it's people's livelihoods. It's their careers. It's their lives. It's how they provide for their families. And now you are firing them because they are not getting a medical treatment. And to hear it come from the Supreme Court that it's unconstitutional and then continue to do it is even worse. It's even worse.
Yeah, not to mention the news that we've had recently come out over natural immunity and how who are you? How do you know whether most or all of your employees have previously had COVID? Odds are that they have, and so they have. We know now that the natural immunity is stronger than that afforded to by the vaccine, or at least by 2 doses, according to, you can get our facts straight here. But so that the fact that you could be firing someone who has better immunity to the virus than the one that you're requiring them to get through the vaccine, unless they, or you're going to fire them. That's insane.
Right. But this is about health and wellness. Now get back on that conveyor belt and make those Hershey's Kisses that just literally cause heart attacks. But this is about health and wellness here at McDonald's and Krispy Kreme and Hershey's Chocolate Company. Just to look at this and not go, that's messed up, is beyond me. And how anybody can sit and cheer this, which there will be people who go, yay, Hershey's, you're doing the right thing. I can't wait to buy more of your candy while I sit at home with my double mask on and my triple vaccination pass in my hand, just in case the police come knocking. People are going to be cheering this on. Ridiculous. Hershey's, I don't buy Hershey's anyways, but I won't be in the future. I don't eat chocolate, but You don't eat chocolate? I don't. Yeah. I don't eat chocolate, which is what Hershey's is famous for. So I'm just going to continue to go about my business. But now I'm going to do it even harder. I'm going to not buy your chocolate even harder.
So you weren't eating the sexualized M&Ms either that they had to... I'm not eating the new diversified, inclusive M&Ms that are wearing sneakers instead of pumps because pumps are overtly feminine and promote gender roles. I will not be eating your bisexual red M&Ms or your pansexual green ones. So there. Let's move on here. More inclusivity. It's not just the M&Ms who are going inclusive anymore. You guys, it has to infiltrate every single part of your society. We have to indoctrinate you from every single angle. And if we are unsuccessful, we are unsuccessful. But I don't think they're going to be unsuccessful. They are moving on. And now it's coming to Sims. Do you play Sims, Taylor? I do not, but my wife does. She enjoys it.
So your wife plays Sims. I've never played Sims, but I have several friends who have played it. I'm not a video game.
SimCity, 2001.
Okay.
Like the super old games, but not that. Yeah.
I'm not a video game player by any means, but here's the report on Sims. Sims 4 is coming out. They write... EA has reported plans to enable gamers to use customizable pronouns while interacting in the digital Sims 4 world. Inclusivity is one of our key commitments to increase more inclusive and positive experiences for our games. Imagine being mad that you can't put your pronouns in on your Sims. Imagine that upsetting you, because I'm sure they've gotten strongly worded letters of, your avatars are not inclusive enough for my trans, non-binary, pregnant person identifying self. I'm sure that's what sparks this.
That it's sad, but that's what's become the norm these days. It's just the expectation. We can't have gender-specific bathrooms in the real world or in the virtual world, in the metaverse.
Right. Tell me about that, because you said your wife messaged you and said that The Sims has been different and she's noticed some differences that have to do with like the wokeism that's happening right now.
Yeah, let me pull up the message here. She said, when they updated it recently where you can change how your sim uses the bathroom, either standing up versus sitting, who they have sex with, and whether or not they can get pregnant, regardless of whether they're a man or woman. So that's all in addition to these updates.
Do kids play Sims, right?
I'm sure.
Oh gosh, this is just amazing. It's just amazing. I mean, we've seen this coming to video games for quite some time. Blizzard is super woke. Electronic Arts is super woke. The video game space, much to its chagrin, because I think a lot of gamers, specifically in America, are very anti PC and anti wokeness. If you've been in like any sort of Xbox waiting room, you would know that. If you've been in the lobby for Fortnite, you would know that gamers are not PC and they're not woke whatsoever. But apparently there are some, and it must be a loud minority. Yeah.
It's always a loud minority. I would say, interestingly, like gaming culture or like esports culture, there are a lot of woke. There's a lot of wokeness in that world. I would say, yeah, but for the most people of like who are just everyday users of the games, or just normal people who don't like all this woke stuff in their games. But even like on Twitch, though, if you watch some of the biggest Twitch streamers, just follow, you know, and I who knows how many of them actually believe it and how many are just towing the party line because they don't want to be the one who gets canceled for not being woke enough.
Right.
But if you follow or look into that world, which is huge, by the way, it is pretty dominated by wokeness.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have your little kid who Sims used to be it's a virtual reality, so it's some sort of it's figmented, it's imagination, but you go on there as a kid and it's supposed to be just like a recreation of reality. And now it's going to have men who can get pregnant and sit down when they pee, which is fine. If you're a guy who sits down when you pee, by all means, do your thing. But I have a feeling it's meant to have an undertone.
Sometimes your legs are tired.
Sometimes your legs are tired, and you guys got to sit down when you pee. I totally get it.
Take your time, get some peace and quiet from everything going on.
Exactly. Guys spend more time in the bathroom than anybody I've ever met.
It's like, a sanctuary.
I'm going to the bathroom and you come back like an hour later. But now you can do that in your Sims world and you can sit down, which honestly, you know what? Maybe I don't take qualms with that. That's a win for you, gentlemen. Your virtual avatar can now sit down on the toilet.
I would be willing to make a compromise that let's put pregnant men and men who sit down when they pee and all this stuff in the metaverse and in the real and in the Sims and all that.
Yeah.
And then let's keep the real world real.
Right.
And well, I will totally accept that compromise. Yeah. You can do whatever you want in the metaverse.
We can just do just like woke world.
Yeah.
Woke world. Yeah. So if you guys want a VR specifically for your inclusivity and your pronouns and your genderless beings, your genderless non-binary beings, by all means, go to woke world.
Yeah, give them the woke people. You guys take the metaverse, honestly, and just go as crazy as you want to with all that. Be as woke as you want. Make everything, just amorphous blobs that don't have gender but do have as many pronouns as you want. I mean, whatever you want to do.
Sure.
The world is open to you. It's the metaverse. It's the future. Do all that, and then we'll just take good old reality.
Exactly.
And you don't want to be here anyway.
Exactly. You don't want to be in our world. It's oppressive. And it holds you back, as we've been told. So go to woke world and go to the metaverse and just do your thing. Grocery shop in your fake Walmart that looks exactly like real Walmart and has no desirable features other than the fact that it's now virtual. Be in that sort of Ready Player One world where the world is crawling, is just falling apart around you, and you live in a slum, a favela, and you're in VR. Just do that. That'd be great. Next story here. This is just a funny one. This was trending on Twitter today. Golden Corral was trending on Twitter. And you might think, America's best buffet? Why is that trending on Twitter? It's trending because a massive brawl broke out in Golden Corral, and it's being speculated that it is because of a shortage of steak, that the Golden Corral didn't have steak anymore. Again, allegedly, we don't know this for sure. It has yet to be confirmed. But look at just the sheer size of this brawl. Here we go.
Oh, shit.
Okay. the lights are swinging. There's chairs flying. I'm just like, I'm wondering what happened. What could have happened?
This just looks like a very high stakes affair.
Stakes. I imagine this happens very rarely.
Oh, good one, Amala.
We got any more?
Um,
Looks like I saw a few people getting tenderized.
I guess you could say they were sorting out their beef.
The steak wasn't the only thing that was bloody that night.
But the camera work on that video was very well done.
Oh, geez. We could go on for hours here, ladies and gentlemen. Taylor and I are never short of puns when it comes to stuff like this. But this is ridiculous. If you're ever sitting and thinking, you know what? I think society is going to come back. I think we have, really evolved as humans. And I think we've really tapped into a bit of higher intelligence in this world and in this lifetime. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. And you want to stop feeling that? Watch this video. Just immediately. Just save it to your camera roll if you're ever feeling optimistic. Like sometimes...
On second thought, I will take the metaverse.
On second thought, Mark, hook me up. Beam me up, Marky. You know how sometimes you're just like, I don't know if this is just a girl thing, but sometimes you're just having a day or whatever and it's a normal day and you're like, I want to watch a sad movie right now. I just want to,
that's a girl thing.
That's a girl thing. I get that all the time. I think it is a pretty female thing, but this is it. I'm just going to save this to my phone. And instead of watching like Saving Private Ryan or My Sister's Keeper, I'm going to watch a bunch of people duke it out in a Golden Corral over them not having steak.
That'll bring you right down.
It's simply amazing. Okay, guys.
Someone said it looks like the OK Corral, not the Golden Corral.
Looks like we'll give you a laugh. Looks like the Bronze Corral to me. Tee hee hee ha ha. So before we move on to our final segment, TikTok Tuesday, I want to urge you guys again, subscribe to the Will and Amala Live new channel called Will and Amala Live. Surprisingly enough, Taylor and I didn't just roll out all those puns for you to not subscribe to our channel. That took a lot of effort. It took a lot of brain power, and it was consistent. It was well done. We need you to subscribe for that. So comment down below which pun was the funniest on Will and Amala Live's channel when this stream is over, and we'll see which one gets the most likes.
Or leave your own pun, by the way.
Yes, leave your own pun. I don't know if I can think of any more that have to do with steak. Yeah, I don't have any. I don't have any.
But maybe the audience will help us out.
Maybe the audience will help us out. Leave your own pun.
Someone says someone was fed up.
You're good, guys.
Looks like they got a raw deal.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, guys, final segment for today. Every single Tuesday, we react to TikToks, some specifically special TikToks that we find on the internet, typically on one of our favorite Twitter accounts, Libs of TikTok. My girl who's running Libs of TikTok is holding it down and has no shortage of ridiculous leftist and sometimes really great conservative content. And this is one of those times where we get a really good conservative TikTok. You might have seen this girl on TikTok because her video has sort of blown up talking about her descent from, or I guess her ascension from leftism to conservatism. Her TikTok handle is leftist_dropout. Go and give her a follow if you'd like to. But here's a TikTok that she put out talking about her journey and what it's been like.
So of course I will make a video about how I feel on the right now. It's been really crazy because just since one of my videos got some views on it, people have been so nice to me. I mean, obviously there are like the oddball leftists who are like mad that I left, but for the most part, all of the conservatives or people on the right, or even I've had like independents comments, and I've had just people who are on the left but understand the problems with the left. So many people have commented so many nice things. And I had so much support from like my family, obviously, but a lot of people that like I was really mean to when I was on the left, I had to apologize to, and all of them forgave me and were like, I understand you were just in a weird time in your life, and I forgive you for being so mean to me. And I have never felt more accepted than when I became a conservative. Like on the left, there are so many things that you cannot do and that you cannot say. And every single day, there are new things that you cannot do and cannot say. And it just got too fucking overwhelming. I couldn't keep up with everything that they wanted me to keep up with anymore.
There we go. There's more to that video if you want to go check it out. You can go check her out on TikTok as well. But girl, same. Been there, done that, done it. You've run it back. And it's so true. When I went from leftist to conservative, and then I sort of outed myself, as they say, so many conservatives were running to me and were like, this is so great. I love what you're doing. I support you in everything you do. It's so crazy that you were a leftist and all this stuff. And those are people that I would have wanted to punch in the face 4 years ago. And I was just such a mean-spirited person when I was on the left, because you think everybody's out to attack you and the world's pitted against you and the conservatives are horrible, hateful individuals and we can't stand them and all this stuff. And then you become a conservative and they're like, oh, girl, don't worry about it. It's all fine. Thank you for admitting that you're wrong.
I think the left does a great job of making a caricature of conservatives and making people think that there's just these horrible people who are waiting to, I don't know, berate you, give you conversion therapy, subject you to torture until you cover up your entire body with a muumuu dress, and that they paint this picture of like these super bigoted, racist people, and everyone who you hear who leaves the left and has sort of a red pill experience is like, I can't believe how wonderful people are. Yep.
Yeah, and that was a big shock for me. I thought, oh my gosh, these conservatives are so mean. They're going to be so horrible and evil and mean-spirited. And then you meet them and go, oh, wow, I was so wrong.
We have a video in Prager, I forget what it's meshed up with, but it's Marianne Williamson was caught on a hot mic saying, like, every time I'm on with the conservatives, they treat me very well, but every time I'm with the leftists, they're like very wanting to control my speech and just very rude to me, etc.
Yep. Exactly. And she goes on to say, leftism is so hard, and it is so hard. You have to keep up with so much on a daily basis, and every single month they come up with something new that you need to be offended about, or that you need to work on, or that you need to educate people about. You cannot physically keep up. I am really of the opinion that most leftists obviously do not believe most of the dogma and the ideology that they espouse, but they're too scared to come out and say something about it. They're too scared to speak out about that one issue, and it's a rightful fear. It's not an irrational fear whatsoever, because leftists say you have to toe the line of everything that I say. And if you deviate on one thing, whether that be immigration or transgenderism or racism, you're out. You're not a part of this team anymore. So the stress that she explains feeling with having to keep up and having to constantly be so open about your virtue and how educated you are is a valid stress. It really is. It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
C-Ray on our PragerU channel says, reality will always welcome back their own.
Yep.
Which is true. It's like, there's never any like animosity. It's like, oh, I can't believe you were on the left. It's like, we're just glad you made it.
Yep.
Glad you made it out.
Welcome home, kid.
Welcome home. It's okay.
Right. It's okay, honey. Do you need a hug? That's exactly what it's like. Now let's go from leftist to conservative to angry leftist. And here is a blue-haired leftist. We say that phrase all the time, but here's an actual blue-haired leftist speaking out about the Freedom Convoy and how upsetting it is.
Little update on the hissy fit across the nation, also known as the Freedom Convoy. Because I think half of them just got a... No, anyway, just kidding. The Karen crusade, making their way to Ottawa, halfway across the country to speak to our manager. I don't think they got to speak to him, yeah. But they probably asked for him at the very least. But they did, they took the time to ruin a Perry Fox statue, desecrate that, and the grave of the unknown soldier and that stuff. They're pretty much just doing Lord's work. Not all truckers. Definitely not all truckers. Those truckers, though. Yeah.
He needs some milk. I don't know. Like this therapy?
Yeah,
is that my prescription?
This isn't even one of those where it's like, haha, wow, this person's so kind of crazy. It's kind of like sad.
Yeah. That was just very, very weird. Imagine being mad that people don't want to get something that you're trying to force on them. And imagine calling those people Karens for actually doing something. And when the left loves to talk about civil disobedience, but when conservatives do it, it's not even conservatives do it. It's when people who value their freedom and their choice and their liberty do it. Because this is people across the aisle who are part of this freedom convoy and who are, family members of truckers, who are truckers, who are going and descending on Ottawa to do this. So imagine being mad that people want their liberties. Imagine that upsetting you and then you calling them Karens. And then to go on and spout this propaganda about them desecrating statues, which is not true at all. If you go and look up the pictures of the statues that are in question, the truckers put a cardboard sign in the statue's hand that says freedom and tied a flag around it. That's not exactly defacing or vandalizing a statue. Not at all like what was seen here in America, with us literally defacing and vandalizing the statues of our founding fathers and taking them out of city councils. So come on now. This criticism is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the double standard is real.
Yes, it really is. That's proof of mental hysteria there, if nothing else. One last one here. If you really thought that one wasn't weird enough, and, if you want to put 2 more people in therapy, here are 2 doctors talking about what you should do in relation to COVID and your vaccination and children. Here we go.
Ready?
Ready.
Roll call. My name's Nicole, and I'm a doctor for kids. And I help parents not lift their lids. Woo! Ready?
Ready.
Roll call.
I'm Dr. Todd. I know the tricks to keeping kids from getting sick.
Woo! Oh my God, Todd. What are we gonna do? It's like people just don't believe us anymore.
I know, Nicole. You know what? These people would rather just listen to some random person or somebody on social media. I bet they couldn't even pass Mr. Jenkins' 9th grade science class.
Condescension always works when you're trying to make an argument. Always works to be condescending and tell people that they're not educated enough to pass a science class. Let's continue.
Totally know what you're saying, Todd. But what are we gonna do?
I don't know. Maybe. Wait. What if we created the perfect cheer?
Vaccinate! 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 Vaccinate!
Who's that girl talking about vaccines?
It's me!
Who's that girl talking about vaccines?
It's me!
All right.
COVID, COVID, you can take a knee!
It's like a car crash that you just can't take your eyes off of.
That was, why did you show that?
The eyes are burned.
The beta energy is flowing.
It really is. I am getting a strong sense of soy milk from this video. I'm really tasting soy milk in this particular blend. I hope these 2 people are married. I really do, because there will be no greater match when it comes to.
I hope this was consensual.
I hope this was consensual. At times, it did feel forced. It did feel like one of these people. I don't know who's forcing who.
If you're under duress, blink twice.
Honestly, but to think that 2 people came together and thought this was a good idea and then executed this and then posted it publicly. If they are not married, I don't know what to tell you. They will never find somebody with more chemistry and just more continuity than each other.
Speak for yourself, Amala. I have changed my mind. I'm not going to listen to some random person on the internet who's can't even pass a 9th grade science test. These guys with their cheer, seeing his midriff exposed when he jumped up and down, is just persuaded me.
It was a picture of health.
I need to listen to, that healthy science man who's telling me not to listen to some random person on social media in his video on social media of his random self spreading misinformation.
Right. Dr. Robert Malone? Are you kidding me? Dr. Peter McCullough? Both reputable and credible doctors who work in the field that we're talking about? No. I want 2 TikTok doctors who make cheers about getting vaccinated. That's who I trust. Put them on CNN, Brian Stelter. Pretty please. And guys, that ends TikTok Tuesday. We had to end on a cringy note. I've got an ab workout from just cringing watching this.
Yeah.
It was needed.
The ab workout?
I mean, it was needed that I watched this and suffered through it, so you have to. I had to pre-screen these TikToks. So
thanks.
You're very welcome.
We're all very grateful.
You should be very grateful to me. And if you are grateful, subscribe to Will and Amala Live on YouTube. I'm going to plug this for the third time. Will and Amala Live, our new channel on YouTube. Please subscribe. I want nothing else from you but for you to subscribe to Will and Amala Live on YouTube and watch the show. Guys, that concludes our show. Comment down below your steak puns. For the Golden Corral lack of steak brawl, and comment down below, who do you trust more, Brian Stelter and these two TikTok doctors, or Joe Rogan, Peter McCullough, and Dr. Robert Malone? You let me know. I'm just sitting at the edge of my seat wondering what you're gonna say. But guys, that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. I have an announcement actually before you leave. Tonight on Fox News, if you guys watch Fox News, I will be on the Laura Ingraham show, The Ingraham Angle. Okay. I'm going to be on Laura Ingraham show on Fox News tonight at around 7:20 Pacific and 10:20 Eastern. So guys, don't miss it. Go and check it out. It'll be my first time on Fox News, so I'm extremely excited. And I think we're going to talk about me getting protested at Winona State University. Maybe springboard off of that and talk some other issues. So
Such
guys,
as America's need to subscribe to the new Will and Amala Live YouTube channel.
Exactly. I'm going to try to sneak in the smoothest segue plug of Will and Amala Live on the Ingraham Angle tonight on Fox News. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We're going to be back tomorrow, 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. We will have some hot stories and some hot takes for you. Plus, it's Wednesday, so we'll have something fun planned for the end of the show. Again, comment your favorite steak pun and which doctors you trust, Joe Rogan's or these TikTok ones. We will see you tomorrow.